Well, while we wait for Marie, we've got Ed and Azar after that.
Good morning. Mr. Keshe, I have some questions regarding the inertia. When you talked this morning about how the different elements form at different places within the Earth environment, like in the atmosphere, or the heavier elements within the Earth, that not everything falls on the Earth. Can we say in general that the stronger plasmatic field strengths, the stronger, the ones that are generated as stronger energy packs, that they form into physicality more towards the center of the Earth because of the inertial interaction happens closer to the center of the Earth rather than higher?
Hello, Mr. Keshe. We're not able to hear you right now. I think your microphone might be off.
Yes, I said, can you explain this in more deeper, or explain exactly what you mean?
My understanding of the inertial field is that it's a point of interaction between, for instance, the Earth and the Sun, or any other two plasmas. The point at which their respective fields find a balance point, a certain region, which we call inertia, is formed. And that's
inertia,
where...
let me redefine it maybe in a different way. Inertia is dependent on the strength field of not only the environment and the plasma, but of the point of observation or entity to observe. If we create an inertia, or the Earth inertia creates manifestation to iron and Earth physicality, is not in balance to the point of observation of another entity, Earth does not exist. Inertia has a point of conformation of existence in respect to another inertia or field observation point. There are many matters in the depth of the universe we look at, but they're invisible to us, because our point of reference of inertia in the matter state of the existence of life of the man in that environment does not find common denominator field interaction. So it's invisible to us. You understand? If we change the dimension of the strength of our soul's interaction with its environment, then you will see the universe is full of things we never knew. Because then their field strength of inertia interacts with the field strength inertia of the soul of them. This inertia is only manifestable when it interacts with the initial strength of the field of the man. And then, if you understand this, then you understand how even you can walk through a stone, because its inertia does not exist in the interaction with the inertia of the field of the soul of the man. Do you understand?
I'm not sure.
You see,
it seems you have entered.
Earth has an inertia. The soul of the man, when the environment of the vacuum condition of life of the man has an inertia. And these two inertias have to match for matter or a condition to be visible to us, tangible to us, in a dimension where our soul has decided a point of interaction. Feel the strength, come and feel the strength and domination.
Is it, when you say it depends on what our soul has decided, is it a decision of the soul, or is it just a factor of the strength of the soul?
Our soul is created out of the interaction of the fields of this planet. So it already has a point of reference, common denominator, inertia, interaction. It's a child of a child. You understand? We are a child of the sun, and the interaction of it with the interaction of the field of the earth has created us in the condition of the visible condition of the man. And we have created another moon, which we call the body of the man. But because of its close proximity and the field interaction of inertia of the body of the soul of the man, we see the manifestation of the physicality of the man. If you take the amino acid of the man in another position, the universe will not survive, because it will survive, but it will not be able to manifest itself the way it does on this planet. You understand? We confirm our existence through the existence of the soul of this planet, because we are created out of the strength balance of its fields. We would have never been created on the moon this way, because it has different inertia, it has different interaction. We are humans. We are anybody, any independent body is another solar system, another planetary within another planetary, which we call the Earth planetary system. Our body, it has a more or less 1 or 2 order of magnitude higher vacuum condition than the space. That's why it can exist so close to the gravitational field of this planet. We are not just walking on the street. We are another solar system, vacuum, totally vacuum, with its own planetary system, with its own solar system and everything else. If you could adjust the strength of the field of the soul, you don't need to walk. You can surf over the planet.
So what dictates how we alter the strength of the soul?
A subconscious decision, or filtering system, as I call it. There are a number of factors how we are attached to this planet. And if we can loosen or disconnect in step by step of any of them, we can fly, we can transmute, we can transport, we can do everything. It's just realizing how to connect and how to take out. You can physically, if you understand it, let me explain something. You can physically, if you understand it, if you could change the inertial field force of the body of the man, and the arms and legs or somebody else's could do, you can penetrate the body of the man. You can take an organ out, fix it and put it back. Or do it while it's inside you with another. You see, we have made a subconscious decision to these things, that it needs to become changed as our knowledge increases. We allow a surgeon to cut in us. We allow another foreign body to enter our body environment, to take things out and put back things in and sew things up. Because our body has accepted in the subconscious controller. If you can go into the system of the soul of the man and readjust it, The way you put a knife in the body, you can put a finger in the body. It's not magic. It's understanding the principle of creation. We allow a surgeon to go inside our body because subconsciously we see it as a point of survival, something we can do. If we allow a knife in the body, depending on its gravitational magnitude, the state of a solid state, so we can do a finger. So you can put your hand in. But we never think about it because to us it's something beyond the point of reference of understanding. If I can lower my condition of a state of expectation by the field interaction and allow a surgeon to put his hands as he has the same feel as me, he doesn't need a knife to get it. It's us who creates that initial, what I call inertial field barrier. So we can control it. And it takes time to teach. It takes time to understand. I teach many things, but if you don't understand it, you can't use it. We had a guy in one of the organizers of Bucharest conference. He said he has moved into the plasma energy and he hasn't eaten anything for 14 days. We see it in China. Do we need to create that barrier to convert the energy of the metal, or he's going to become like a plant, takes the energy in any shape or form from the environment? Many knowledge seekers have started practicing. And once you practice and understand it, then why do you need only to take food as a water? Why don't you take the energy into the soul? And then do you need my permission as a doctor to enter my body to fix something? Or does your soul agrees with my soul that allows the physical interaction in dimension of no resistance? There's a lot to come. Knowledge seekers from now on will open up new frontiers in the world of science. I say they start coming because some of them start understanding. And they don't become magicians, but they understand the process, feeding their soul without the physicality, and then gradually changing over. And then you can create a child without the physical sperm and egg, where the soul decides and the egg and the sperm is created. Because we allow permission. Pardon?
I didn't mean to interrupt. I just had another question that I wanted.
Yeah.
Does this control of the inertial fields come from our understanding, or is there something in our physicality that is actually able to sense these inertial fields? At some point, there's a touch point where our understanding and our control.
It's a fear. It's a fear.
A fear.
Fear is an emotion. And that fear is what stops you doing things. It's one of the safety valves, one of the most important safety valves ever created in the dimension of emotion. If you jump out of a spaceship and know you're going to be alive because now you switch to another dimension, the strength field of your soul, you will jump. But the fear of not knowing is what you will not do. But at the point of the 9 months, when the child goes through the birth tube, goes through the same fear. That's why we see the diabetic one. And if you have no fear and you jump, on the other end is the air you breathe. And you survive. Would, if we get 100 people to jump out of the space lab into the space, would all die? or those who have no fear will survive and switch to a new dimension, feel the strength of their body. If the whole 100 numbers have no fear of, they all will survive. They start the newest generation and the cycle of life in the space. We do that with our physical life. We go through training to accept more pain, more pressures, more and more. We go through the courses. We train ourselves to stand very, very low temperatures. We go and sit in the ice for hours. We go into the frozen swimming pools, where if I go with no experience, no training, I'll die within minutes. We call it the hypothermia. Why doesn't it happen to them? Because they accepted the condition. We have to accept there's another stage after the life as a physical dimension if we go through it. And that fear holds us, has encapsulated and imprisoned us in this. But fear with knowledge is different than fear with no knowledge and just jumping in and see what happens. The guy who goes to sit in the ice water pool has trained, has understood how to adjust his body, how to create the fear bigger than the fear of death, that he can go in there and beat it.
So it's our understanding that develops, that creates the ability to the sense of the fear will alter as our understanding grows.
In a way, I see a number of Chinese knowledge seekers will move into the level of the soul very soon. A few knowledge seekers in the West, because we are too materialistic, may do in time to come. But the knowledge seekers of the Chinese knowledge seekers who went and are going through the process of no physical food gradually reach a point that they connect to the soul. And then they go through feeding the soul that it feeds the physicality. They don't need to drink or eat. And it's not the first time. Many people in the past have reached this position.
I myself have just gone 5 days without food and intend to go 10. So that's...
What do you do?
I use both the Gans water and the what's called the Master Cleanser, which is the... yes, I'd like to bring in a couple of other questions before we have Azar here ready. There's one from Hassan in the YouTube who says, Mr. Keshe, you said last week there's only one way to connect the cup. Having all our emotion in common, isn't that the way to connect? If not, could our fingers be the connection, our skin being the nano?
I said that because I said there is one way to connect the cup that you get the response. In a way, you can connect these cups in any shape or form or dimension and get a specific response. But if you connect the whole structure of the cup in one way, which give you the only way, which give you the final outcome, is the creation of a new life, or interaction with the creation of a new soul within the center of the cup. That's what outcome is. As long as this I explained with John in a couple of teachings before, when I spoke about the crystal and the bowl we put on the top of the table in the knowledge seekers teaching. Once you create the right balance of the fields and materials and conditions within the cup of universe, That circle I put in the center, which I said is the soul, that will light up. And then that's the soul of what you have created. You become the creator of a soul. Energy fields that it lights up, that in interaction with the fields of your existence lights up.
Mr. Keshe, oh, sorry, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And then you will see the cup coming up. I saw this you sent me. This has no relationship to what we teach. This is different cuts of diamond, brilliant cuts, and the old cut I call it. And this, this in fact focuses on many things that you can light up. You can create that what we call condition of the lighting, the center point, and it becomes the soul. And then you understand, you started with a cup, but you facilitate the physicalities and everything else to create the right communication. Then you will see the center will light up because of the reflection of the field's energies within the structure. One of the most important things for many knowledge seekers is when you make these cups, you make a slight, small mistake. And that mistake is when you make, for example, your nano plates, when you start doing on nano coils, just don't wash them. In the Keshe Foundation manufacturing, we use ultrasounds to vibrate everything out of the plates. And when you use different salts, filter them, that no matter enters your cycle, because then we can't have a piece of shrapnel in the leg of your body, born with it. When you make these cups, when you endeavor to go in process of manufacturing or producing these cups, make sure you stick to the principle of the creation. And then go to the next step. This is important to observe, and it's the difference between getting a system working and the system is then and does nothing. You got to become like the creator perfectionist. Everything has to be, otherwise you get something else which you were not expecting. And the one is to create a different condition. Any other question?
Perhaps we can hear from Azar now.
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Good morning, everyone. There's something that it came to my mind yesterday. I don't know if can be correct or not, because when I look at the cup of universe, and then I look at my body, I see I have, especially when you created that two hemisphere of the brain into this cup, then I was thinking each organ in the body is using different salt combination for it to function. And then I have the nervous system, which is my wiring. So can I use the body as a cup of universe and each organ representative of each plates, either a spiral or flat, and then you use a nervous system that is already there and connecting all the organ, and then salinity in my body, which is already there, all of the salts are there, and create this cup of universe within the body.
The body of a man is a cup of universe.
So can I play with that?
It depends where you want to place this universe.
Okay, so how can I play with that? How can I create this in here rather than out there?
It's how you interact, because don't forget, most of the things in there is already predetermined over billions of years through different ancestors of you. Now you have to go and dismantle it or open a motorway through it.
So it means there's a lot of junk in there. I have to remove the junk, make it.
No, not the junk. It's just there is you because of all those things put together by your ancestor blood holders. The body of the man is not just as you see it today. Every organ, every cell in your body is added, pre-planned added to be there to create that cognition. Even the position of your kidneys is not the same as everybody else, because somehow this thing in your body has to be in a given position to create other conditions for it, that the other cells and organs can exist. Changing a body of the man is a big, big job. It's easier to work with the soul than the physicality, if you want to make any changes.
I understand this because I remember when I was like 30 years old, when I went and I did the checkup with my doctor, he found a condition that it was with my liver, and he says, where you come from? When I told him, he said, okay, that has to do with the that region, Iran, that it has this come from that generation, which is normal, and he dismissed it. He said it's okay. So I understand that. Now, the other question I have is this, because this comes up everywhere I go, especially with Buddhist community. They believe in reincarnation, and I keep talking to them, but then even people who got enlightened, they said, even Buddha, if you look at his script, he described every life that he had lived on this planet, even as a single cell with detail. So when I say there is no reincarnation, they said, yes, it is. So, and then there are people present now as gurus that when they got enlightened, they talk about all the past life, and then they say the way they see it, since they got enlightened, because of the karma they have, they said, no, they don't accumulate any action anymore, because at the time of death, they're not going to die. They leave their body because they don't want to come back. But then you say we don't come back. We only have one life. So how do we
humans have one life because we've chosen that way. If you choose a cycle of life, which is to achieve a target, you can change different clothes. You don't change as a person just because you put different clothes on. It's still the same man inside. But with us, that inside is the soul. Doesn't matter what frock we put on. I was explaining this to a knowledge seekers a few weeks, few months ago. I can tell you exactly, precisely, where there is even today an oasis. One tree, one water well, and I stayed there for decades till the time was right. I explained this to the knowledge seeker. I remember clearly the whole stages of the life, existence of the life, because we are present as a soul, not in the dimension. We choose the dimension of physicality to be present or not. But man chooses one physical life, and it carries on because it comes from an amalgamation of physicality to soul. We come from the soul to physicality. It's a totally different position. And this is what I said, the new life on earth to come is created out of the soul, interaction of the souls and not physicality. This is why I said many times, I even remember the hammer of the nail in the palm of the hand. We chose, mankind changes clothing. we change the clothing of the physicality of the man, which is a big difference. Then we don't need to remember, because it's part of the process of the soul. It is in memory bank, it's in RNA. And many people I've spoken to, I can tell you, they just talk because they read, because they don't understand. This is just a fake talk. Because we see the soul. We walk. You change clothes, we change bodies. But it's the same soul. Be it the soul of the Christ, be it the soul of Moses, be it the soul of Muhammad, that's his name, and everybody else. And there is a big difference when you come from the soul, you change the physicality, or your physicality, you change your clothes, because you have no control over it. You just let it breathe free now to go and learn. Where we have learned, we come to show. And it's a big difference.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Mr. Keshe, also you said you came from planet Zeus and you're not from here. So my question is, how if there are other people who are not from here but they live in this planet, but how did you show up in your mother's womb? I mean, how did that happen?
We take the body of the man. We don't take the process of life of the birth of the man. It's totally different. If I tell you the planet Zeus is the creator, how would you go? You go crazy. So you're happy with the planet Zeus, so we play with planet Zeus. The understanding is according to the intelligence. The process of creation has a physical dimension or a soul dimension. You can create through the soul. Then the physicality can be any, or you go the way the physical dimension goes, you create this physicality to create the soul, and then that soul needs its freedom to take new dimension. But we come a different way. We come through the soul. And that's why I start teaching that the new generation of man will create the soul first, and then through it the physicality decides. Because the new generation can live anywhere in the universe, because it changes just the clothes, but the soul in essence is the same. But when you are created out of the soul, you carry the knowledge of the universe. Because when the soul is created, all the fields of the creation will come together to create that soul. We are about to witness the birth of the first such a thing on earth, in what we call creation of it, not birth of it, very soon. And that is what we call the Mitra, the mother of the creation. We give it a name, but in essence is the soul which can allow life, a new generation of life to be created. Through the soul of the existence and not through the physicality. This process is part of the teaching, gradually we'll come to it. And as I said in the past, you don't have a delivery room in the universe because it's created out of the soul. You don't need a birth passage because it comes out of the, what we call the beauty of the wanting to give, what you call love. It's a big difference. We are not visionaries. We are creator of the visions. It's a big difference.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
nation, one planet, one race. It's a different way of understanding the work. Any other question?
Yes, we've got several more questions here in the Q&A. Antonio mentions, hello, Mr. Keshe and Rick. Years ago, I experimented with trying to shift my consciousness into a tree. To my surprise, I was in the tree, and straight away in shock, I retreated back into myself. Fear perhaps made me return. So it's more
It's
of a
very
comment,
easy,
I
you
suppose.
can do that. We can do this very easy.
I think that's what the girl was doing that I met, the lady that I met today on the trail. She was
It is,
transferring.
we don't transfer, we connect, we understand. In English language, you say, I feel your pain, or I feel what you're talking about, because I've been through the experience, we have some line of connection. We have a lot of connections with the plants and trees and everything else, but we decided to block it because then we can't eat them. It's the same with everything else. I always laugh when I hear pigs are 99.5% the same as humans. Of course, we're all the same mother. We all create out of the same protein mixture which came down. The environmental condition made you to walk on the 4 legs. The environmental condition made me to walk on 2 legs. You think it's different? I think it's no different. Why do you think when you go to near a pig, runs away from you? Why do you think when you go and get a chicken to slaughter to eat, runs away from you? Because he knows from your soul what you're up to do to him. Doesn't need the language, doesn't see the knife. It's not the fear. He keeps his distance. I know what you're going to do to me, and I don't accept it. But we got 2 legs, we run faster, we are more agile, we catch it. But in fact, the soul of the chicken already knew what your soul was planned for it. And it's a very, very strange feeling. And sometimes it hits you so bad. Sometimes you just ignore the face to go, and that's what it's got to be. That's the way it is. You come through, to go through an experience and to go. And I had this feeling yesterday, very bad. We were invited for meeting a family, and the family made a beautiful soup. The chickens in the middle of, or just before we start, I was told that the family has slaughtered a chicken this morning to make the soup as we were coming. Now you can imagine how I felt eating, but it was too late to do anything. In so many ways, we choose in the rightness to be able to carry on. This is how we become who we become, ignoring emotions. Because we are more important than those emotions. Any other question?
Dean with the hand up here, perhaps.
The orders and the deposits for the first units to be set up and to be shipped in UK. And with it will come the commitment of setting up the manufacturing in UK for specific reasons. We will collaborate with a number of universities in UK for further research and development, and especially with where I come from, the base background of University of London, and my children who brought up in the same university structure. So we will work endeavor to increase the knowledge within the structure of the United Kingdom. Any other question?
Well, if you're willing to take a couple more, there's one from Marco in the Q&A here. It says, hello, Mr. Keshe and Rick. Marco Capato, please excuse me to enter your house and ask a question. When I was going to pass energy to someone, I would clap a very loud hand with my universal reactor. At that moment, I felt a field of a lot of love. I ask, is it the sound or the impact of the hands that provides the condition for this transfer of fields?
No, it's the expectation, another expectation, intention, you know what you're going to do. You're aware of the intention, so that's what it is. In a way, you tune yourself up. There is something I have to mention while we were at this subject. In the next time, very soon, we expect to be in the city of Beijing in China. We put a request to Chinese authorities to organize a conference for Chinese knowledge seekers. This goes on the back of negotiations in the background, outside the Keshe Foundation work, where we work, we are involved with another other works with the Chinese. We announce this conference in Beijing in very short time, and the knowledge seekers from Chinese community. And we will ask you when we are ready to contact the Keshe Foundation in China, in Jinjiang, which is now the headquarters of Keshe Foundation, for how you want this conference to be, and what you want to participate in. Some things to be advanced, organized to be able to have this conference smoothly in Beijing. It will take some few more weeks of work with us on the diplomatic side to have this. We attend once hopefully it's organized, still at the top. When we attend the conference in Beijing, it will be as part of the national government diplomatic corps. It's outside the boundary of the work of the Keshe Foundation, but it will be an introduction to Keshe Foundation technology through science and technology interaction between two nations. And I hope this will take shape, and very soon we'll announce this one. And we'll see how we'll take where we introduce the technology as part of the Keshe Foundation into the Chinese nation in a different way. Any other question? Rick, are you still there?
Yes, hello, Mr. Keshe.
Have we lost you?
No, just looking to see if there's a couple more that might be interesting. Another question from Spirophi Jess. It says, in order to transmute the fear emotion, is enough to create with intent from our soul the peace emotion? How could we change some element in our cup of life or universal cup to create the new emotion?
I think a lot of people have started developing the cup of universe. Try to work in a different way. You already made the 5-stacker cup of man with the soul. Now, when you make the cup of universe, put them near to each other, understanding between them, both made by one man, by one soul, and see what is the intention, what you feel in communication when you made the soul of the cup of universe and when you made the cup of man. And try to extend the strength of your soul to the two cups. And sometimes put a camera on or a video on, and see if you see the light of your own soul to extend to the two. This will give you, because it's you, both built by you, both intention by the purpose of your thoughts. See if you can extend your soul beyond the boundary of your physicality through the two systems you made yourself. In a way, it'll be the first time you enter the point of transmutation, the expansion of the physicality or dimension of the soul within the structure of the framework you have made. And then you see, you will understand. This is part of the process which will take you gradually through for knowledge seekers to understand. And then we teach you how to transmute, or what you call, we don't teleport you, we allow you to transmute your intention to emotion of the soul and dimension of travel. There's a lot to come, there's a lot to teach. But maybe those of you who are working, but first thing before you do this, find out how you are connecting your universal cups. And then when you understood and done the right moves, then use the cup of man, the second of 5, and the universal cup. As you are the creator of both, you will see how you can extend yourself beyond the boundary, but with the limitation you have created. It will be interesting time. Very, very interesting time. I'm going to switch one system to another quick because running low battery on mobile.
That's a signal that we should wrap things up. Let's see here.
The humiliation of the past. I imagine the soul covers the body, so the body doesn't.
Can you repeat that, please?
Yes. You said that you still feel the nail and the hammer in your hand, in the palm of your hand. I wanted to ask, how does the soul this humiliation and traumatizations on the body? Because, well, I can imagine that the soul covers the body, so the body doesn't feel all that. And then I can imagine the soul reviews completely this incident, so it just doesn't bother anymore. Because in comparison, in healing techniques, in here, when somebody has a traumatization which bothers in this life, we should let go to the source of that traumatization, that the person feels good at his life.
Let me explain to you
and
something.
The fear is upset. Yes.
There is no dramatization. There is no what do you call, what you accept to be and what it is. It is interesting to see how we distinguish between a child. And trying to find the right word. When you look at it from the man point of view, I'm trying to explain in a way which is we look at this from the way you're talking, from the human point of view. We talk about from soul point of view. When you look and work from the soul point of view, the final target, what it is to achieve, is the objective. When you look at it from man's point of view, the fear and what's going to happen and the rest of it is important, and what's going to be. I'm not going to be here. What's going to be it? When a man dies, you see man dying, there's always fear of what happened to children, blah, 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 blah. When in the dimension of the soul, we change the physicality, you look at it, what have we chosen in that dimension of physicality, which targets or brings us to the end condition of what is to come, what we planned. This is why in the dimension of religion, you call it prophecies, but in the dimension of soul is what we set up to come. But it's changed in the word of the man to prophecies. We plan it to be. We go and say, when the next one comes, these are the things and conditions. Because we have that time, 1,000 years, 500 years, to create the condition we said is going to be. Because we live in different souls and put the people or the physicality in a position to do what we want to achieve. Where in the word of the man, you'd call it a prophecy. You want to go to your mom's house for lunch, you hope, you wish that mom loves you enough that she'll make your favorite food. But when mom invited you for the food, she already knew what you more love. She's going shopping for it. We went to the butcher to get that specific meat, to the grocery to get such and such, and to have that food. We go through that process. We're making the food ready. But what we know is time you come to take in that section. We create that expectation through different physicalities for it to be there. So mom didn't become a butcher, mom didn't become a grocer. She went to arrange it to be. We are in that position of the soul. It's the same soul. You go to mom the next day and she has another, but you knew yesterday you like this, but it's the thing you need next. These are the vitamins you didn't have in the last food, the next day you did. So she goes shopping, arranging the same thing from different butcher, different places. So as we walk through the soul, we organize everything to be to what we said. As you look as a man, because your cycle of physicality is small, you call it the prophecies. It was said it's going to happen, now it's happened. But on the soul side, it's the same man organizing everything that when you come home, the food is there. because he promised it'll be there. He completes it because he makes all the arrangement to be, it's going to be this at such a time, in such a date, in such a position. These things will happen because he's already made it to happen. This is the difference between you as a humans and us as a souls. And we talk through the dimension of the souls. And then the physicality carries. And in the process, you see what parts are not there. You go to Auntie's house, you wanted some food there, you put some things she needed at Auntie's house, but you're still home cooking because you know the auntie will come for lunch as well. So we make with the region, there is no belief in whatever, all the animals still, all the worship of the statues. We put a bit of food there for them to become like this when they come for the final day, that everybody has the same thing on the plate when you come for lunch. So we don't look at it the way you look at it, because we live the cycle of the soul. You live the cycle of the man. And the soul, especially in our level, exists for billions of years. So a few thousand years to you is a few seconds to us, but we still go through the process of man's time to be. Then a lot of things become much clearer how the things does. And I've said that in the teaching before. It's the same soul. It just has time. And he has to take time for everything to be ready to catch up. Why do you think we start the process of man going to the moon and rocket technology and everything else to open the minds that it can go to out of the space? And now we teach you a step further. We even control the knowledge, let alone its application and implication. But it's not all that way because man still develops. It has an essence of creating and intellect.
Thank you. I have to listen again, but I got the message. Another thing, like people who give the sacrifice of the most precious thing for people, which is the body, is it that they get a degree? Like I say, it's like the military. You can be a very low soldier. When you sacrifice and you're killed for the integrity for your battle, then you get a higher degree and higher, which is sacrifice. Is it true, kind of, that for this
That is
kind of
from the
sacrifice,
human, it is a kind of human thinking. Yeah, this is in capitalism. Yeah, the more pain you have, you know, the higher you go. But why do you put yourself into a pain to go higher? Why don't you choose another way to understand the soul? It's the way we've been taught in school of teaching we come from. Suffering, you know, especially in Christianity of today, especially in Islamic world today, the suffering is the path to salvation and heaven. My God, was it this way or is it all made up? It is the way it's been ingrained in us to accept. And that's what it is, that's how we expect to be. Because it's our expectation, not the others. That's why if you listen to a lot of
yeah,
what
the
we
way I
do,
see the martyrs.
you see, we call martyrs. I was explaining this to some politicians and what you call diplomats, not very long ago. if you look at it, it's the structure. Because you're Iranian, you know exactly what I'm talking about. In the early 1980s, the Pope of Vatican decided that the new Islamic religion in Iran is a threat to Christianity, to the control for the rest of the world. And they popped up Saddam Hussein to start attack on Iran. Saddam was an incompetent leader. He didn't have the source in there. But Iran was full of fanaticism with Islam. They had a target. And on the other hand, what did the Pope do? Gave 9 million landmines to Saddam to plant to kill as many as possible, that with less people, then it can break the back of Iranian rules. But the whole thing is irrelevant. But you look at the Iranian side of it. The Iranian religious leaders called for martyrdom for people to walk on these mines. And they went to schools and bought buses of children, gave them a plastic key, and they said it's the key to the heaven, and they got them walking on the landmine, and they called themselves martyrs. Which one is actual what we call use of human psychology to control? No Iranian children would have died. There was no need for sacrificing hundreds of thousands of lives if one man as a pope would have not decided to commit such a crime. In fact, by that act, he brought the end of Christianity, where the religion should not get involved in mass murder. And this is why we said it's the end of Vatican. And we saw the repeat of the same thing with the present Vatican, ordering the biggest arm manufacturing to initiate another cycle of killing. This cycle of Christianity has to end. Because in that way, what we saw happening, creating so many children to die in Iran, creating a martyrs, you call it, brought so much suffering, unneeded suffering. And it allowed to consolidate a new dimension of aggression. But again, Iran held borders, we didn't cross the borders. People don't know that because of those landmines and solidarity created in Iran, weeks before signing a peace treaty with Saddam Hussein, was about to conquer the whole of Iraq to bring it back into Iran domination. Americans begged and borrowed for Iran not to cross because they knew they lost it. And then later on, when they got rid of the Saddam by Iraqi situation that has got chemical warfare and the rest. But 10 years before, it was the Allies. They were bombing and filling up with everything. But the process had a reason. Because of what we have brought today, because of it, to create the negotiation with the 5+1, to create a peace talk that will create peace worldwide. We know what we are doing, but we watch when a man makes a mistake, not to be part of it, but learn from it, that we can change the course for it to what we want. And this is what man doesn't see, because you're too busy with daily life. We see from outside the totality. We sit within the soul of this structure. Now, did the martyrs become martyrs in Iran, the children of 8, 9, 7 years old, taken from the schools? Who committed more murder or more what we call aggression? The Pope or the Iranian leaders who put the children on the line? But then it becomes nationalism, then become religiosism, and everything else we see. And this is a cycle of one nation, one planet. We get rid of the cycle of the one borders man has created, then becomes a one nation, is not just being a nation, in accepting all one path of belief that we are all from the same creator. There's no need to go to the next step. It's a bigger structure behind one planet, one nation, one race. Much, much bigger than just 3 words. And all will sit with the psychology of the man. Any other question?
Yes, we have a couple of questions on the cup arrangement. Gail is asking, in the cup of the universe, do we use silica or silicon?
Anybody knows the periodic table, what's in the body of the man? Go to the period, go in the human body structure, you'll find it. Next question. You see, we got to get knowledge seekers to do some homework. They understand more what they're reading. It's good.
All right. And of course, Farzam in the Q&A asks, hello, Rick and Mr. Keshe, what is the percentage of those salts in the universal cup?
What would you like to have? A cell of heart or a cell of toe? Then you have to find what's its salination, what combination for each one.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Not a good answer, it's a fact.
I thought you weren't going to answer that one because it's too detailed and.
No, but the thing is, every cell has and manifests itself in a common denominator salinity, and then its own division salinity. We have, when you have a kidney, has a common denominator salinity, which all the cells produced in that environment of salinity have to have a specific common denominator. And then you have different salinities for different walls of the kidney. You have for different, what do you call it, tissues of the kidney. You understand? This way, this is the how we construct the what you call the spaceships. We, in a way, a lot of knowledge seekers, they just go, oh, it has to be a field. Hold on, where is the salt of it? Without salt of it, you don't create the what we call physicality dimension. And none of the knowledge seekers up to now have understood this. It's the first time I explain it. When I make a flying system, I consider it's not just a field. You have to create that inertia, or what you call salinity, for it to manifest itself. And this is a knowledge seekers don't have, so we leave it at that. You can have as many fields interacting as possible, but if you don't create the environment of it, or what we call salinity, or we call the inertia of it, of a given space, the matter would not appear. And I've seen knowledge seekers for years rotating reactors. We do rotate reactors, but we put something else behind it to manifest its physicality. And this is something you have not understood. Even a stone in the dimension of manifestation of its physicality carries a salinity within it, within its own environment. You call it a salt, we call it inertia. We call it dimension and conditions of manifestation. The UFOs outside the surface of the Earth, outside the solar system, are different than what is here. They create that condition, even though it's a knowledge within. You see, I've been teaching you a little bit too much today.
A time when all cycles of life will be as one, will be one. As when we die, will as of life. Will there, at least, and perhaps others, perhaps relevant to him at least, and perhaps others, will there be a time when all cycles of life will be as one, will be one? As when we die, we go to another cycle. Will there be someday reuniting all those cycles to one?
Oh no.
It's a bit of an awkward question, but he's French, I think, so it's a bit translated, but maybe you get the gist of it.
You see, I'm trying to find a way. We are part of the everlasting recycling. If you learn, if you're happy to be in a physical condition, you're staying in a physical condition. But if you can extend your, what do you call, life by getting rid of what is causing you problem in physical condition to the extension of the soul, you never die. You leave position, but you never die. The souls will give their energy to the other souls to become part of, but they never die. Death is a condition of physicality because man doesn't understand that it becomes the cycle of another thing. You know, the freedom of the soul of the man encaged by the physicality of the man. Now the prisoner has nothing to watch for, so he steps down. He has imprisoned the soul for long enough. So we come to understand different way. And do you need to go through that process of leaving your physicality? Death is the fear of the man because he didn't know what to do and how he could collaborate with his own, with what he created. But if you create the soul that it creates the physicality, you can move on. You don't cry because you take your clothes off and you put another clothes under you. Every time you go to change clothes from one suit to another, do you cry? Because you know the man inside is the man inside and it'll be the man inside. So you don't leave the man in the suit, you hang on the cupboard or in whatever. This is the fear of the man. Pardon?
Some people might, like I think in Carl's case, perhaps I'm suggesting, might be missing those that have already passed, like the family members or animal pets and things like that. And
if they passed, have you ever had a dream of them? Have you ever seen them? If you've seen them, so they haven't died. They're still there. Now you have to find the soul.
So he's saying, is there a time when we get to an elevated point or part of our evolution where we see the whole picture and all of these entities become visible to us again? Or
you are in a dimension of the soul. Not really in the dimension of soul, you're already part of it. If you want to see everybody together, your mom, your dad, the dog, and the uncle who died, and the other one, give a party at the soul level and see who turns up. They're all there.
And it'll never be recreated in terms of the physicality of seeing all the physical entities all in one place, all those life cycles all together again. I don't think so.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Because you're not dealing, you translate it to the language of the emotion of the man. And that's the difference. Translating to the language of emotion is very different than physical sight. Any other question? We're running to.
Well, I think you're pretty much
I'm done
answered
for
things. If there's any leftovers, they can bring them to next week's workshop.
Yep. Can I send you my invoice for today's teaching, please?
Yes, definitely.
Thank you very much.
We'll pay you double for
Yeah,
today's
I'm
workshop.
still waiting for number 1 to be paid. You're in 391.
I know what
Thank
you
you.
mean.
Thank you very much for today. And
you.
hopefully we will be there again next week and in the coming weeks. We welcome the new Iranian administration and his officer, President Raisi of Iran. It's time for change.
Nadszedł czas zmiany, przejścia do prawdziwego działania wszechświata. I nadszedł czas, aby zrozumieć, że używamy stanu materii, by osiągnąć poziom zrozumienia duszy człowieka. Teraz rozumiesz, być może, dlaczego Kreator wysłał swoich posłańców w imię tego, co miałeś. To oni przynoszą uszy, aby można było ich użyć, gdy nadejdzie czas Mesjasza. Mogę nauczyć duszę i przesłanie. Nie by się przeciwstawiać, ale poprzez ich zrozumienie, przez tych, którzy stali się Mesjaszami, aby dawać ze swoich dusz, aby ich elewować. Zadanie stało się łatwe. Szkoła jest tutaj i uczniowie są tutaj w oddaniu. Wtedy nie będzie żadnej walki między tym, co nazywają muzułmanami a chrześcijanami. Baranek i lew będą jeść i spać w tym samym gnieździe. Chrześcijanie i muzułmanie będą spać i modlić się w meczecie, w tym samym kościele, w imię ich dusz, nie w imię religii, które są używane do tworzenia tak wielu konfliktów, dla korzyści tych, którzy byli hiperaktywnymi dziećmi. Nadszedł czas, czas zmian jest tutaj. I jak powiedziałem, moje życzenie jest moim rozkazem. Jeśli pragniesz ujrzeć pokój, droga pokoju jest wyłożona bardzo wyraźnie. To dusza świadomości zbiorowej. Poprzez dawanie stworzy tą pozycję zmiany. Nic innego. W duszy człowieka nie ma długopisu. Jestem pewien, że po wejściu do społeczności uniwersalnej nigdy nie zobaczysz niczego zapisanego, ale równowagę pól duszy egzystencji. Staraj się być na tyle pokornym, aby nie stać się aroganckim w mocy, którą zrozumiałeś i posiadłeś. Inaczej wpadniesz w tą samą ścieżkę kościoła i meczetu. To jest to, co obiecaliśmy i to właśnie dostarczyliśmy. Musimy zrozumieć działanie duszy. I musimy zrozumieć, że dusza człowieka jest gwiazdą w kosmosie wszechświata. Jeśli porównamy duszę człowieka i tak wielu nas, 7 miliardów w jednym zbiorze, Ziemia jest jak galaktyka z tak wieloma gwiazdami. Kiedy patrzymy w głąb wszechświata, widzimy galaktyki z setkami milionów gwiazd. Podobnie jest z planetą Ziemią. Niesie 7 miliardów pięknych gwiazd, które są duszą człowieka. Niesie z sobą duszę tak wielu trylionów zwierząt, roślin i wszystkiego innego. Jeśli więc patrzą ci, którzy nie widzą fizyczności Ziemi i jej zawartości, co widzą? Widzą galaktykę z wielką ilością pięknych, świecących świateł. Każda według swojej siły. Każda zgodnie ze swoją pozycją. Niemowlę ma piękną duszę, podobnie jak staruszek. Dla tych niefizycznych, którzy nie widzą fizycznego wymiaru tej planety, ale widzą siłę pola, jesteśmy gromadami gwiazd. Ludzka rasa, każda pojedyncza dusza, nikt z daleka nie widzi. To jest dusza rybaka, to jest dusza kosmologa, to jest dusza prezydenta. Wszystkie świecą bez względu na fizyczność. To jest magia. Oto co nowa nauka musi przynieść człowiekowi. Kiedy patrzymy przez naszą duszę, widzimy tylko gwiazdy w innych duszach. I to jest przełom. To jest zrozumienie. Na tym właśnie polegają te wszystkie nauki. Dojście do dojrzałości następnego poziomu, aby zrozumieć daleki kosmos. Wszechświat jest ostrygą dla tych dusz, które służą. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy do wejścia w kosmos. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy, aby stać się częścią uniwersalnej społeczności, która została obiecana. Nigdy nie obiecywałem wam nieba. Zawsze obiecywałem wam elewację człowieka, aby przyłączył się do rodziny. A teraz macie klucz. To wy musicie otworzyć drzwi, aby zrozumieć, że mogę elewować duszę tych ludzi lub milionów innych dusz, że fizyczne życie na tej planecie zmieni się. Wtedy jestem godny bycia częścią społeczności uniwersalnej, by być, aby służyć, aby się rozwijać, by być tam, aby być częścią, że w cyklu życia wszechświata staje się w byciu częścią, staje się częścią totalności. Kiedy człowiek osiągnie ten punkt, pojawi się nowy wymiar w sile duszy człowieka, który jest poza wyobrażeniem zrozumienia życia fizycznego. To jest brama do otwarcia nowego życia w nowym wymiarze, co jest poza wyobrażeniem tego, co mogliście nazwać nowym początkiem, nowym cyklem, gdzie ten cykl niesie ze sobą źródło stworzenia życia we wszechświecie i unikosie. To jest elewacja duszy, aby służyć. Stała się kluczem. Nie tron życia fizycznego. Czas jest odpowiedni, nadszedł czas, aby człowiek przeszedł przez ten proces.